So we are back again we're starting the first keynote. That's impact of COVID on co-working and co-living across India. This keynote is presented by Swanubhuti Jain. She is an independent director, Motilal Oswal Financial Services, based out of Mumbai. She also represents Motilal Oswal Asset Management. Her profile is she was running a incubator, GITO, and Innovation Foundation, reporting to the chairman director in charge of JIAF working committee. So go ahead, Swanubhuti, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Rajan. Thank you, everybody. Now, the topic that we will be discussing today is impact of COVID on co-working and co-living across India. I'll be touching a few aspects primarily through the experience and observation, having run the co-working, having incubated startups, having funded through our angel network the startups as well. The scenario that is prevalent in the past 9 to 12 months as we talk about the COVID era, which I'm sure in the lives of most of the people, maybe there has been some pandemic during our forefathers' times in smaller pockets of the India, but as much as anybody can recall, this is a very, very historic event, and this will be very, very revolutionary because a lot of things were never known or seen which are happening now. Times in the past 50 years have changed to such an extent, even the last 500 years had not seen that kind of a change before that. Which means that our generation, I'm talking about people who are in the age group of, say, for example, 30 to 50, they have witnessed the kind of change which none of the generations ever earlier would have seen in their entire lifetime. I can still remember from my college days, to my school days, to my college days, because the computer was already there, the mobile was already there, the way pager came in and it was wiped out. I mean, it's already a history before it was launched. So we are seeing times changing at unprecedented pace. Now with the COVID, while the change was very rampant, but with the COVID, I have seen that people have been more prone and acceptable to very, very revolutionary digital and technological advancements. I remember when I was working for Accenture, and we virtually lived actually, because while we had a lot of office spaces in Mumbai itself, there was a healthy workforce of 80,000 plus people only in India. But we lived out of the conference room virtually, because my team was located in 5 different locations across India. A team of 20 people was also in 5 different locations. So hardly I could meet even a single person locally. I was used to working in that environment. I'm talking about 2012. Okay. Now, when I moved to another organization after that, which was GITO, and it was comprised of more of traditional businessmen and investors who are more of the primitive mindset. They were still into the mindset of physical meeting and physically interacting, and they were not as comfortable on the virtual medium. But I came from the world of Accenture, where I was very comfortable working entire day and night through the laptops. So this mindset, which I was trying to change here because of my experience, but people were still taking a long time to get into that model. With COVID, even a 60-year plus, a 70-year plus, a 80-year-old plus person is also now Zoom savvy and a YouTube savvy and a WhatsApp call savvy. I mean, everybody is on the same digital platform now. So with things which have digitized drastically, another beautiful aspect that we have seen is, of course, startups were always of the opinion of working out of co-working places, believing in the concept of co-living, because of obviously, having limited resources, financial resources, and they needed the flexibility to be moving around in different locations as per their work demanded, or as their expansion needed to be in. So only the startup or the SME community or the freelancers were the ones who were using the co-working space more often, or the very younger generation, the student kinds or very, very early job seekers kind who were using the co-living spaces earlier. But now again, you're seeing a big needle move in the culture shift here, beginning with the co-working part. You would have noticed that even larger corporates now, who did not believe in taking any lesser space than 500,000 seaters in a single complex and making an exclusive office there, are now moving to the phenomena where they want to hire the co-working seats. They may still go ahead and take 4 floors of the co-working space, but they still don't want to do the management themselves. They want to outsource this entire piece. The beauty is, look at the economies of scale. Look at how the expenses have pruned down drastically. Because earlier, 60 to 70 square feet per seat, you had to give them so much common resources. A complete admin team was required. And to make it worse was that even if there was, attrition or there was addition of new workforce, the space remained constant. Either they had to, keep the space lying vacant if there was attrition or there was a downsizing, which they had done deliberately, and that cost was a waste. Even talking about if they had to add any capacity, they had to look and seek another office space, build it up from the scratch, make it to their liking, do all the management, and the fluctuation was not being taken care of. The recent phenomena with even the larger corporates that we are seeing is that they have also fallen in love with the co-working concept, and the pandemic has given it a boost further for obvious reasons. Because with pandemic, they realized that, they were into larger contracts with the real estate guys to rent out this large space. And now, to their utter surprise, they see that wherever the co-working contracts were there, people just vacated within a month. They had not more, a lot of, you can say, liabilities towards that. So if you were in a full-fledged space which had a minimum lock-in period of 3 or 5 years, and you had a notice period of minimum 6 months or things like that, wherein they would have spent first 6 months in establishing the place and managing it and then shifting there, and if they sometimes plan to shift, the larger companies also need to be agile in the changing times. The agility was completely killed by asset heavy models of infrastructure and real estate. For these companies, it makes so much sense now to, just go, plug in, start a single day on X number of seats. If there's an attrition of 20 people, they can just cut down on those 20 seats from next month. If they decide to quit, it's the one notice and they are out of it. Nothing is their responsibility. They don't have to even declutter or sell or scrape out the furniture, the things like that. So co-working now is making sense for even the larger corporates, which is not their core expertise, is not the field where they want to invest any money, not the field where they want to invest any efforts, not the place where they want to invest any time. Why keep a team to manage something which can be the core competence of somebody else? So I always, tell this to my startups, that any business model that has the formula of win, win, and win will only win. Now, what is this win, win, and win? There are always three parties. There is a supplier, there is the service giver, and there is a consumer. Of late, we have seen the Ola or the Uber model, whereby it's a win-win-win model. Talk about the taxi walas. Did they exist before Ola and Uber? Of course they did. Were they occupied in an optimistic manner? No. They were lying idle. They were 50% occupied, 25% occupied. They had good days and bad days. Were they always there wherever the demand was? No, it was up to their, particular whim or fancy of a certain day where they felt they could get good traffic. So for the taxi operator, it was a win when our Ola and Uber came in. For the Ola or Uber, of course, it was a win because they made profit out of zero investment. They don't own even a single taxi. They didn't have to do anything apart from the app and the management and the idea and the implementation. So they came with a complete asset-light model, and they were so sure about the business model that they created large amounts of profit for themselves. The seller, the service provider is a winner here. What about the customer, the consumer? For me, I used to own 3 cars, but now I'm down to 1 because I don't need so many cars anymore. I can just use the services of Ola or Uber today. It's become so convenient for the customer with the price reduction, with the easy availability, sitting at home, getting world-class facilities. So any win-win-win is what will make a business model tick. If even we go in a mall today, we realize that the stalls, the shops, which have a shared service area. So you sit in the same zone of the restaurant, the cost of which is shared by all the shops, and there might be another 20 service providers there who are giving you the food, who are maintaining the same chair and the table where you are sitting. It makes sense. A shared service model, a shared economy model makes sense. It is cheaper, it occupies lesser space, it gives me better variety, more options. So similarly, when you look at the co-working, look at the beauty of it. Look at co-living, look at the beauty of it. I individually, even if I had say 20 employees or 200 or 2000 employees, for me to begin an office space would have meant a 6 month of effort to identify, establish, invest, take all the risk, do all the efforts at the cost of my own business. But now what I'm doing here, in co-working, it's a plug and play model. I am still getting the best of the interiors without even hiring a single architect. I'm getting the best of the tea, coffee, all managed, all completely, well maintained, without being able to, without having the need to do any of those expenses. I always, prepared a cost chart for my clients for the co-working. So we were running the co-working, and we told them that even if you were to take a lease line for yourself, for your company, with the kind of speed and the service that we are giving you, it would cost you about, say, for example, broadly 3 lakh rupee a year. If you were to take a tea or coffee vending machine, if you were to need the we had some gym or gaming facilities, if you were to establish even any single one of them, look at the expenses. Only the AC and the electricity charge for 4 people are higher for a year compared to what per seat cost we are charging you. So economies of scale are fantastic for the person who's using it. It's fantastic for the service provider. It is good for the builder. The real estate scenario is dying a slow death. The liquidity is so bad. But looking at the opportunity with the co-living or the co-working, you'll notice that there is a huge opportunity pile out there for everyone. 60% of the population is under 35 in India. 40% of the population is constantly of migrant workers. And when I say migrant workers, it is not the lowest level. I'm talking about the elite class, the educated, well-educated, highly qualified people, they need the flexibility. Today, I'm staying in Mumbai. I get a good job opportunity in Bangalore. I don't want to be stuck with a house and an office space here. I want to be agile. So the security, the maintenance, talking about even if I'm staying in a house, my maid or my cook does not turn up on a single day. The day is like spoiled like anything. If you're in a co-living space, the cleanliness, the food, I don't want to be eating out every day, but I still have the all the services being taken care of. I don't have to clean, I don't have to cook. And the best part of this entire model is that there's a variety. You interact, you can communicate with so many people out there. So if we are in a co-working or a co-living, you are not in a silo. You are not just by yourself. You can meet other service providers, you meet friends, you learn so many things, so many activities are happening out there. So all this has been realized post the COVID era. One more very important aspect during the COVID era, now I'm talking about a little tangent from what I've been speaking so far, but again, this is another big fact that we talk about. So a lot of this workforce that we're talking about, working from home has its own challenges. And people have realized that during this time. While as convenient as it may sound, because there are no traffic woes, there's no wastage of time. But even if you're working from home, it's a very difficult thing to do because you need a very, very secluded, separate space, a workspace in your house, which usually the residences did not have so far. Every individual needs their own workspace. You need very high-speed internet. If you have smaller kids, it gets so difficult to find a noise-free zone. Plus, working in a secluded room for 2 hours is much more tiring than working in a buzzing space where you have people like you who are also working on their things and you get to get a break from your routine. So this need of every individual where people don't want to work from home, but they want to work from home. They still want the flexibility to not commute, but still be at a workplace, still live in a house where they don't have to take the responsibilities of establishing everything, getting everything, but still get the fun of your own privacy and sanctity. So co-working and co-living both thrive on this concept. In fact, areas where you will have co-working springing up, you will have a lot of co-living facility developing in the vicinity there, and vice versa. Because people will prefer to live close to where they are working, and at the same time, they would want to have a place which does not eat into their time out of their work. So post-COVID, during the COVID, yes, we did see that there was a decline, but it was very, very, the decline was less and the rise was higher. The demand slumped lesser, but the increase in the demand was higher, primarily because while the startups or the very small and medium enterprise could not really sustain, so those startups and those SMEs who could not sustain the COVID, they did ditch the co-working and ditch the co-living, and they went back to their natives. But the larger enterprises, the corporate world has started seeing the benefit of this flexible nature. They have started seeing the value whereby a percentage of their workforce could work from home, where they have started seeing a value where a percentage of the workforce could work out of the co-living places, co-working places, and stay close by there in the co-living places, so that their productivity does not get hampered. So this value, we must have lost some pennies, but we have gained the pounds. Because the larger people, when they have got attracted to this sector, it assures in the next 12 to 24 months, we will see a sharp increase in the way these two models work, because they work on the model of win, win, and win. You get better facility, you get better space. It's profitable for the real estate guys. It's liquid money, it's easier for the user. So end of the day, the sum and substance would remain that the new order of tomorrow will not be possessing and owning a lot of things and getting tied down with larger liabilities. It's not asset heavy business models. It is asset light business models. And to become asset light, you have to outsource. And if you want to outsource your working space and the place where you live in, co-working and co-living is the only answer, which is the future. So we will see a very, very drastic increase in both of these spaces. Even in the co-living, I mean, whereas in the traditional rental business, you will not get more than 1 to 3% as a return. But if you fragment it into a co-living and you start giving it out to the communities out there, the returns are to the scope of 9 to 11%, which is so lucrative, even for the guy who's trying to give it. So the idea is that the future is shared economy, whether it is shared mobility, whether it is shared a workspace, whether it is shared living, whether it is shared eating, whether it is shared traveling, everything shared is how the future looks like. Everything standardized, everything to the core, ultimately professional. Everybody wants to focus on their core expertise area. Everybody wants to outsource everything that is not their core competence. And hence, co-living and co-working are the answer to all of these questions. And that's what maybe there's a slight decline in a certain phase, and that is more of an effect of the larger economic slowdown. But the way it will change the mindset of the people, the way digitization will change the mindset of the people to opt for shared economy going forward will be huge. And this is the future that we should look upon. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take that.
Any questions you can put in? You can share it in the chat. Otherwise, as far as a corporate point of view, it was an excellent insight from Swanu, especially how the pandemic affected the sector and how it can revive. So Swanu, what is your one-liner for this segment, co-working, co-living? What do you suggest them? How do you advise them? Everyone is looking for a sustainable model or a...
Right, so shared economy is the future. And we are already begin on the journey.
But that was before the pandemic. Shared economy was thriving. But now the pandemic has affected, no? Shared economy is...
So there will be slight changes in the model. Okay. For example, earlier you used to, work upon 60 to 70 square feet per seat area. Now people will start, accounting for 100 square feet, kind of. So you will change the dynamics. You will change the way it will work. But the model per se is not changing. It's the slighter modifications which will always happen. That's okay. That's the way it works. I mean, if you drive a car, the tire will get punctured and you'll have to fill in a little more air at times and reduce it sometimes. But that's part of the game. But the model is there to stay, is what I'm saying.
The people are afraid of close proximity to each other. So the spacing has to be quite wide. So again, it becomes expensive.
So this also, I don't think will stay that long in terms of social distancing. Cannot be the final order of the day because human being is a social animal per se. And even now today, if you just go out of your house and you look at places, you go in the malls, everywhere it's crowded. So human being will find out a way to win over it. But we are a social animal. End of the day, they will like to be together.
There is a question, I think, will co-living be suitable for families or more single people? From Bandana.
So, good question. So, currently, as we are seeing, particularly, and we're talking about the co-living part here, it is more inclined towards singletons, or it may be, double income, no kids kind of families. Currently, this is more inclined towards that. But just because we are at a very, very early stage. And as you have seen that even in corporates, gradually, you even have good corporates have a daycare center in their own premise. They have become child-friendly as well, because if they want, people to be more productive, they have to give an all-round facility. So gradually, even householders with proper kids and everything will also gradually move to, people with families will move to a kind of a hybrid model. So it will evolve. There is still a while. It is still not ripe enough for the families, but it will evolve, and gradually it will be for everyone. So in foreign countries, you usually find a lot of such places where the co-living is there. There's common laundry, common areas for everything. There's a daycare or a crash in their own society, particularly for this. India is a little away, but we will soon reach there.
So it's like an organized accommodation
Uh,
space
yeah, yeah.
where a family can move in, a working professional can move in, kind
But
of that, I guess.
this is the future, is what I'm saying. This is not. We are still not ripe. We are too early to be reaching there as of now. But things will become hybrid in the
Hybrid.
coming future. That way, yeah.
There is one more question. Do you think because of social distancing, more space will be required per person, or how will it will affect rentals?
So space definitely will be required per person. I just answered that from 60, 70 to 100 square feet types. Yeah, and things will start, building in that fashion of, in anticipation of any future pandemics. I mean, people have already started doing their BCPs in place. That's one. Second is, how will it affect rentals? So short term, yes, of course. I mean, even a lot of us had given waivers of rentals during the pandemic, the peak pandemic time. A lot of us had reduced, and currently also 15-20% the market has reduced on the rentals because everybody wants to fill it up. But to our utter surprise, so even on my floor in my building, the owner of Quest Co-working in Bombay stays. He has about 1,000 seats at the Mahakali Caves Road. Uh, Now we were surprised. We were just chit chatting 3 days back, and it was such a surprise. He said that he's full. Before pandemic, he was at 500 seats. He's full on the 1,000 seats now. People people have been dying to get back. So he did decrease. He told me he had decreased the rentals and everything. But it's a demand supply game, right? End of the day. So if you're full, then gradually once things start coming up, then you will see the rentals also rising gradually.
So thank you, Swanu. It was a great insight and good takeaways for the audience. So look forward meeting you again. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you.